And this is a little more lighthearted.
This is well, I have a few things to say,
Yeah,
but
maybe it won't be so lighthearted with us, but so Johnny Cash is releasing a new record.
he is not. But okay, go ahead.
But Johnny Cash.
Yep.
So when this record comes out, Katie Lynn, it will say Johnny Cash on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so let's read about this. I'm gonna bring up an article from theguardian.com, and this is lost Johnny Cash songs from 1993 to be released as a new album. The country star's son is co-produces songwriter. I guess the name of it's going to be called Songwriter. It's worked up from demos with a group of former bandmates and guests, including Vince Gill and Dan Auerbach, who are backing Cash's vocals. I want to talk about Vince Gill a little bit in a second as well. 11 previously unreleased songs by Johnny Cash, which the country star recorded as demos in 1993 but never completed, are to finally see the light of day on a new album entitled Songwriter, which is due to be released on the 28th of June this year. Okay? A single was also released on the same date as this article, which was written on the 23rd of April. That
Hmm.
single is called Well All Right. It was released alongside the announcement that we're talking about. It is a saucy, strutting number about lust amid laundry with a classic Cash opening couplet where he says, I met her at the laundromat. She was washing extra hot. I said, don't you need a little help with that big load you got? All right? This is a thing in 2024, ladies and gentlemen. We are getting brand new Johnny Cash music. What say you, Katie Lynn?
So I have two opinions: the good side of the coin and then the bad. So I, man, I'm a huge fan of Johnny Cash. Everybody knows that. I mean, if you're not, you gotta. There's something wrong. Okay. Anyway, um, but a part of me is like, you've uncovered this historic artifact, is how I feel. But then another part of me is like, these, okay, if I die and you find these songs that no one ever knew anything about and y'all start releasing them, I'm gonna be coming back to haunt y'all's asses. That's some BS. That's some BS. I don't care. I do not care. That ain't right. That ain't right. And I have a song called That Ain't Right, and that's how it happened. I was sitting here talking about something passionate, and I said, That ain't right. Anyway, um,
All
that
right,
is how that
first question about this. I can kind of feel your vibes on this already. But how does Katie Lynn feel about posthumous music? Because it happens a lot.
It does. So I have multiple feelings. I cannot state necessarily how I feel about this one, and it is different since the son is involved. So I don't want to say anything too harshly to maybe offend the family or anything like that. Not like they're ever going to see this, but
You
just
never
out of
know.
respect.
You never know.
I don't want to say that any of these scenarios is the situation for this, but a lot of times it does feel like, especially like when it happened under a record label's umbrella, and then their record label is like, "Hey, here you
Yeah.
go,
Yep.
make us some money, even
Yep.
though you're dead." That's pretty shitty.
Yeah.
But then also, there's the coin where it's like, I mean, it's Johnny Cash, man.
Well, see,
It's Johnny Cash.
here's my point on it. Right, Johnny Cash lived a pretty long time.
He did. And
John
1993 wasn't that long ago.
and Johnny Cash put out a lot of music over the course of his
Absolutely.
life. So the way I look at this is, if it wasn't good enough for him to release it when he was alive,
Why is it released now?
I mean, clearly, somewhere along the line, either Johnny himself or management or the label or the whoever is is deciding what songs make the cut and what songs don't make the cut. Regardless of how that decision is made, these songs did not make the cut.
And take all of this away. All of the opinions. Whose voice is on these songs?
Well, it's gonna
Johnny
be,
Cash.
yeah, it's gonna be his voice.
Who is not here to give consent? Johnny Cash.
That's right.
That is his voice, his image. He is dead. He is long gone.
But I mean, some would say that whoever is the
You know what I mean,
executor or next of kin or whatever the beneficiary, whatever the terminology is, has say so
and
in
that's
that.
where it gets touchy
So really,
in this
the
situation.
way the music industry works as well, and this is kind of a shitty thing, in case you don't know how it works out there, a lot of times the artist who performs the song or the writer that writes the song doesn't end up with the ownership of the catalog.
Yep.
At the end of the day, the most famous example of this would be Paul McCartney, who did not own his own catalog until very recently. Michael
Yep.
Jackson owned his catalog, by the way, in case you didn't know. The entire Beatles, I want to say, I don't know if it was the entire catalog, doesn't matter, but some of the Beatles catalog was owned by Michael Jackson. So the person who wrote those songs, Paul McCartney, is not making the bank that he should because he doesn't even own his own catalog.
Yep.
The original songs from, I think it was the first 3 or 4 albums, I need to be real careful here because I'm friends with the label, that did this. But Taylor Swift did not own the first 3 or 4 albums of her career.
Mm-hmm.
Big Machine owned them.
Yeah.
And I have to be careful because I know folks over at Big Machine. And to be fair, they're really good people. Love you, Scott. So Taylor did the right thing. She re-recorded all that stuff.
Yep.
And now she owns it. She owns the new recordings.
And that's a sucky situation, but at the end of the day, you sign that contract and you agree to it. So
It's the way it is, and the way a company, the way these music companies will do it is they will control your catalog in perpetuity, which is a fun fucking word, except when you're on the other side of perpetuity. If you don't know what that means, perpetuity means forever. It means forever. So when you're an artist or a writer or a businessman or whatever it is, and you have perpetuity on something, it means you are creating income from that source forever.
Forever.
Yes. So that's not entirely a good thing in the music business or any business, but it happens a lot in the publishing business, especially on the book side of things, where an author will get picked up by a publisher, and maybe they don't have the money to publish their book, so the publisher will publish the book, and they will get a nickel in perpetuity of every sale that ever happens on that book.
Mm-hmm.
And they always get that nickel. Always get the nickel. And the nickel don't sound like a lot, but 1.5 million nickels is a whole lot of nickels. You know? Perpetuity sucks unless you're the person that has it.
Yep, absolutely.
My feeling on it is if Johnny didn't want to release it while he was alive, then we shouldn't be tarnishing his memory by releasing music that he didn't feel was good enough to release when he was alive.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what I said. Like, I would be so mad. I would be coming back to haunt these people. That's some BS.
I mean, Johnny Cash died in 2003. So these demos.
Where I was born. Maybe I'm Johnny Cash. No, I'm kidding.
Could be. Oh my gosh, that would explain a lot. No,
No, not really.
My point is these demos were performed and recorded 10 years before he passed away.
Mm-hmm.
So if these songs
and it's not. It would be one thing if it was like, like not even the start of his career, but that would be more like, like, oh my God. But like this was like well into his career. This was not short 10 years before he died.
So he would have been 61 when these demos were recorded. And he had 10 years to release these songs.
And he didn't.
He wasn't hurting for money that I'm aware of.
No.
He's Johnny frickin' Cash. So it's not like he's hurting for a publisher or a record label that's going to put these songs out. So man, like, again, I know what you said with his son being part of this project, but and I know what you were thinking. The thought,
It makes it
it
weird.
feels like a money grab, doesn't it? Does it
It
not feel like a money grab?
it does, and you can't help but think that, and I really hope not. But I mean, you can't ever rule anything like that out because I mean, this person's been dead for 21 years. Okay, 21 years.
Um, and I'm
And listen, and all of a sudden, you bring this huge name in history, huge name in music for anybody that knows anything, and you release this. You know damn well how good this is gonna do,
mhm.
regardless of intention.
Yep,
You know how good that thing's gonna do.
yep, it's true. It's true.
And you can't, and regardless of this, if that was the intention, you can't help but think about it.
Now it's cool again that Vince Gill is part of this project.
That is true.
It,
Yeah.
it does give it some legitimacy in my eyes, just by
Yeah.
having him on board with it.
Hmm.
Little piece of trivia out there. Maybe Kadie didn't know this either. Vince Gill is the most recorded human being in the history of music. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
I might have known that, but I don't think that. I feel like I knew something about Vince Gill being,
Yep,
but
that is true. Most recorded human being, whether it's as a session musician or as a harmony or a guest
yeah.
vocalist or his three or four different massively talented bands that he was part of, including the Eagles now, by the way. Um,
Hmm.
I want to say, I might be misremembering, but I thought there might have been some strife between the Cash children in the past, but I'm not finding that, so I might be
Uh,
misremembering.
now that I think there was with the Haggards. I know that, but that's different.
Yeah, I might be misremembering. So I'm not going to actually say stuff like that. But man,
Yeah.
when I first heard this, and I've heard the same, I think it was Prince recently that they were thinking about releasing some tapes that he had vaulted prior to his death, and again, I mean, it just feels so shady.
Yeah.
Um, and I hope it's not a money grab. I mean, it looks like maybe it isn't, just based on who's part of the project. It looks like Marty
Yeah.
Stewart is part of it as well. Drummer Pete Abbott, who himself has passed away recently, by the way. Um, Dave Rowe is an upright bassist, uber
Hmm.
well-known Nashville sessionist. Um, so Rick Rubin is part of this as well as a producer. So, I mean, it's got the names. They've got the
Yeah.
names on there. It'll be
And
interesting.
for these guys, you really hope at the end of the day nothing comes out about it.
That's true. Last question on this topic, perhaps, and possibly the last of the episode. And this may not have anything to do with this particular topic, but I thought it would be an interesting thing to end the show with. With the advent of AI, um, there's so many different AI options now, whether it's making graphics, making songs. You go on TikTok and you can't swipe for more than 20 minutes without finding some song that's been written by an AI. I personally really enjoy the obscure vinyl
Yeah.
AI cuts that are hilarious on TikTok. And I'm okay with it from that aspect when they're creating new music or funny
Yep.
music or parodies or
Absolutely.
whatever.
Hmm.
But how do you feel as an artist yourself, as a songwriter yourself, even more importantly? How do you feel about AI possibly creating music, not only from artists that are alive, but from artists like Johnny Cash, who are no longer with us? Brand new Elvis music or Merle Haggard music or Frank Sinatra. You just plug it into the AI machine and there you have it.
So I'm gonna go ahead and say this is pretty blunt, and it's about everyone that has passed. That's sick. That's pretty damn disgusting. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. That's how I feel about it. You're gonna use these people's voice, and it's not only that. Like it's not only like Johnny Cash. Those were his songs. You know, even though he didn't release them, he wrote them or had something to do with them. You are going to be pulling stuff out of your ass and putting these people's voice on it. Like, and they're dead. They're dead. No, you don't do that. And then there's going to be money made off of it regardless, whether how much, you know, there is.
And you know, there's I say currently, but I couldn't find anything on the internet, and this is scary. This should scare the shit out of you. There are no laws against this.
Yep.
And get this. Here's why. This is the part that should scare us all. The reason why right now that there are no laws for this is because you cannot copyright something that didn't exist when the artist was alive. For example, if you create an Elvis song in 2024 using AI, Elvis didn't write the song, he didn't perform the song, he didn't mix the song, he didn't know about the song. It's literally just an AI generated song that somebody put into a machine, like put some, I don't know how it works. I'm not that clever on it yet. But you input whatever into the machine and it spits out a song, and apparently you can just add somebody's voice to it, whoever your favorite artist is. And there's no laws against that because there's no copyright on the song, there's no trademark on it. There's none of that because the song was created now. So then the person who used the AI to make the song can copyright the song because they created it using another person's voice.
Yep.
That's some scary shit.
And when it comes to like Johnny Cash, I mean, not Johnny Cash, but like Elvis, you're not going to listen to that and be like, oh, I like this song. I wonder who this is. You're going to be like, that's Elvis.
Right.
What is happening?
Yep.
Like that, no.
And it's not like it's an Elvis impersonator doing a song from a different artist. Like there was this guy back in the 90s, or maybe it was the early aughts. God, I don't remember his name, but he was an Elvis tribute artist, Elvis impersonator, and he would put out albums, CDs of what it would sound like if Elvis did this. Like there was Whiskey Lullaby or Whiskey in the Jar from Metallica was on there with Elvis doing it. Like stuff like that. I think that's cool because the original copyright's going to get their money for that. You know what I mean?
And you know that's somebody else's talent. That's not a machine.
Yep, that's right. So something has to happen from a legalization standpoint on this.
And it needs to happen quick.
Yeah, because as of right now, to my knowledge, I couldn't find anything on this. And perhaps we have a viewer out there that can educate me further on this, because I would love to know more of this. As of right now, I'm not even an artist, and AI scares the piss out of me for my friends. I have dozens and dozens, hundreds of people in the music business that I know that their livelihood depends on originality, and AI is going to take that away. So there should be some real stringent criteria on that kind of thing really fast.
Absolutely.
But apparently we're going to fight over other things that...
About James McMurtry and a effing dress.
Now, I want to reiterate before we sign off, I am not intimating that the new Johnny Cash album is AI created. I'm not saying that. I'm not making the connection to that at all. So please leave that out of my inbox. Not saying that. I'm just putting forth to another artist, my friend Kadie, on how it would be if those kind of things did happen. Because now, I promise you, in June, when this Johnny Cash album comes out, there's going to be people, I promise, there is going to be people taking advantage of this new record, this new record. They're going to take advantage of that. They're going to put Johnny Cash into the AI machine, and they're going to create songs, and then they're going to create confusion among people who don't know whether that new AI-generated song is actually on the new record. And then people, not knowing the difference, are going to consume all of that and not know what is and what isn't. And That's not cool.
And then the POSs on the planner are gonna get money and all the glory for it.
But you can bet your bet. You can bet your butt, and we'll be talking about it, Kadie, in June. I promise you. When June 28th gets here and the new Johnny Cash record hits the shelves, you will be seeing lots of this AI generated Johnny Cash stuff happening, and we'll talk about it because I want to do the aha moment when that happens. I told you, and we'll play it right here on the show. Maybe not.
Flashback to